We're gonna go on, we're gonna go live. All right. Okay. We are going to call the meeting to order. Clerk Kornecki, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Trustee Davis.
Here.
Trustee Aiello. Trustee Bulfus.
Here.
Trustee Taglia.
Here.
Trustee Case.
Here.
Trustee Wagner.
Here.
President Bullwinkle.
Here. Could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Vince Gatto, would you mind leading us in the pledge, please? I ask everybody to remain standing for one more second. Trustee Taglia, would you please lead us in prayer?
Sir, our Heavenly Father, will thou be pleased to grant that this meeting, thus begun in order, be conducted in peace and closed in harmony, and may God bless our veterans. Amen. Amen.
Wonderful to be able to do that if the Supreme Court rules.
Item number 3 on the agenda, amendments of the agenda. Does the board wish to make any amendments to our agenda? Or wish to table any items?
Madam President,
Yes, Trustee Bulfus.
I'd like to have on the consent agenda on the formal item C, regards to the McDonald's, be removed from the consent agenda and moved down into the, I guess it goes right after the consent agenda if we move it off of there.
Attorney Moore, can we do that? Can we do this now, or do we need to wait until we get to the formal agenda?
Preference would be to wait till the formal agenda. If
Well,
that
there's
is,
no place on the formal agenda for me to make changes.
it says amendments to the
Yes.
agenda number 3.
Item number 3 on the formal.
That wasn't on the last couple.
I knew this was going to happen, so I stuck it in.
You did, too. All right.
So shall we wait then?
So this is just amendments to the COW?
Yes, sir.
To the COW.
I'll bring it up.
Okay, all right. Just teasing us tonight. Okay. Any other amendments? On the committee of whole. Okay. And we'll move on to item number 4 on the committee of the whole. Discussion only concerning the placement of a bond referendum question on the November 2014 general election ballot pertaining to the sale of bonds for the purpose of paying costs related to street, storm sewer, water, and sewer improvements throughout the village. Manager King?
Thank you, Your Honor. The village is considering placing a bond referendum question on the November 2014 ballot pertaining to the sale of bonds for the purpose of paying costs related to street, storm sewer, water, and sewer improvements, i.e. road and curb construction, sewer and water main replacement, and addressing stormwater issues throughout the village, including expenses incidental to the project. Before the board can construct the project, borrow money, and issue bonds for such purpose, a proposition therefore must be submitted to the voters of the village and be approved by a majority of the voters. Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, we actually, do we want to start off with maybe an explanation from George K. Baum, or would you like to give a quick explanation?
Sure. Be happy to, Your
All
Honor.
right, Manager Keener?
Your Honor and Board, on an annual basis, Public Works puts together a capital improvement program which encompasses the reconstruction or overlay or sealing of certain roads throughout the village. On an annual basis, I think it's obvious from the photos around the walls of the chambers that we don't have enough funding to complete these projects on an annual basis. In fact, we probably collect less than $2 million annually to be used for road reconstruction or overlay. That's what I thought.
Yeah. A note about
I got caught.
his mic. We can't pick him up on the mic if it's not like this. So. There we go.
So we have a number of roads which are in serious condition, which need to be improved, reconstructed, or resurfaced. We have a huge list, if you will, and here it is. So the Director of Public Works Director Giskelis and myself were reviewing this list today. And the list that I have before me is 3 pages long and contains the streets or avenues, etc., water, sewer, some storm sewer, but the total amount that we were looking at today is right around $23 million. We recently increased water and sewer rates to perform certain improvements within the village. So that provides a funding stream to pay for the bonds, if you will, for those particular improvements throughout the village. So if there's happens to be a water main underneath the road which will be reconstructed, then that portion can be paid for through either the water or the sewer. We do not have a funding source for the stormwater improvements other than using development funds or wastewater funds or the general fund. And of course, for roadway improvements, less than $2 million annually comes in either through MFT or non-home rule sales tax. So we're kind of at a quandary here, if you will. I've been with the village probably 2 years and 8 months, not that I'm counting. And it's been a pleasure. However, many complaints come into my office and come to this podium. When are you going to fix our roads, and what are you going to do about it? And like any good administrator, you always make a plan, you implement the plan, and the plan's the most important piece. And so now we're doing the planning right now. We've had IMS take a Dynaflex machine throughout the village and go over every single roadway and bounce microwaves, if you will, off the roadway and collect data, which should be done within the next several weeks. This data, if you will be turned over to Robinson Engineering to translate into roadways which will be heat scarified, overlaid, sealed, or totally reconstructed, and then they'll be prioritized. So that's the foundation, if you will, for us to move forward, that the roadways will be prioritized by a third party, independent of the staff, and really scientifically done by the Dynaflex machine. And so that's our foundation. So we have funding sources for water and sewer, not stormwater, and then the roadway needs some funding. So we're not experts at this and don't claim to be for issuing bonds and putting questions on referendum ballots, if you will, or voting ballots to achieve that. So we've asked George K. Baum and Associates and the representatives to guide us through the process. It's not a process that's easy. If it was easy, we probably would have had the referendum passed 2 times ago. So this would, if the board so pleases this evening to move forward with the referendum question, this would be the 3rd time, if I'm not mistaken. I wasn't here for the prior 2 processes. It's an important process. It's not an easy process. It's a process that if we want to do, we should probably start now. This is already November, and then we'll go into the Christmas holidays, and then it'll be January before we really realize it, and then the elections will be in November. So really, if we want to do this and do it correctly, we'll need to move forward with education and meetings and doing certain things so that we have a successful campaign so that we can complete these roads. As you can take a look at numerous roads, you know, you drive down them, and some are smooth. We've done a few roads. I'm not saying we haven't done anything. We usually do a couple of roads or so a year, for instance, and no one would ever think, probably in this room, or maybe at home, that we would do North Michigan. North Michigan is costing us about $976,000 without change orders. I know you don't like that word, but, and that's for about 3 blocks. total reconstruction, including curbs, including water main. Gas mains had to be lowered by NICOR. It's not an easy project. So you can, we probably received less than $2 million, as I mentioned earlier, and of that, 976 plus is going to go to North Michigan.
That's 2 blocks.
2 blocks?
Two
I thought it
blocks.
was closer to 3, but
Okay.
but
It's a short amount.
it's very expensive. But we carried over some funds from last year into this year to get that project done. There's just not enough money to go around. We had the State of the Village meeting and another town hall meeting that we talked about the roads, and folks wanted to know, what are you going to do about the roads? So we're really to that point this evening, is to talk about the referendum. Quite frankly, we're paying as you go now. So we receive the money, we do the designs, spring we'll start the project. Without the referendum passing, you're probably looking at maybe 2 to 3 roads done per year, out of all the roads. And honestly, I sure would hate to tear up a road to replace a water main or sewer main and then leave the road in disarray. I'm not advocating that. If we're going to go beneath the ground, we should do the water mains, we should do the sewer mains if they need it, and then repair the road appropriately and not leave it. We have a lot of work to do. I think all the citizens at the town hall meeting and the recent State of the Village meeting that I needed your help. I don't have all the answers, and I can't do it alone. If you were so gracious to approve this evening and move forward with the referendum question, and if it were approved at the ballots on November, I can tell you that the village would be transparent with your funding. We would put on our website the before pictures. We would put on our website the construction photos. We would put on our website the after photos. We would show you where your money is going and has went. And it would not be my recommendation to issue $23 million worth of bonds in 1 year. Staff would be overwhelmed if that were to occur. It'd be my recommendation that maybe $6 million year 1, an off year, $6 million year 3, so we're not overwhelmed. When you're talking about millions of dollars, and that's a lot of cash to be responsible for. We have a fiduciary responsibility to the citizens to spend their money in a responsible, efficient manner, and I do that now, and I would not change that habit if the referendum were to be approved, this question.
And dividing it up would also be easier on the residents, too,
It'd be-
if that's what
yeah.
ends up happening.
And obviously more transparent that way. So I think at this time, Your Honor, I'll be quiet.
Before we open it up to some questions and comments from the public, we do have representatives from George K. Baum here with us tonight. Would you all like to add anything before we get into the questions from the public and from the board?
Thank you, Madam President.
You're very welcome.
Members of the board, my name is Bill Hofer. I'm with George K. Baum and Company. With me here tonight are Al Womanat and Tom Reedy. I'm a poor substitute for Paul Hanley, who heads our election services group, and he had a prior commitment in Ohio, so he asked us to speak on his behalf. But basically, I know some of you have already heard exactly how George K. Baum and Company approaches this. We're the only investment banking firm in the country that has an election services group, or public policy. They've modified the name a little bit, but we have a 4-phase approach. I don't know if you saw this, but in the first phase, I know you've already made progress on several of the steps in the first phase that you have been working on regarding the needs assessment. The second phase, that would really kick off in the spring. That's where we would communicate with the community and gauge reaction from the community in the second and third phase. All of this is done prior to when you would formally adopt the question. You have to, again, our approach has been, and it's been very, very successful. Paul's group, they're close to 90% success rate on it, but one of the key components of it is to get the response, the feedback from the community, and know that the community is in favor of this before you put the question out on the ballot. We don't do stealth campaigns. There's a lot of, many times we're talking to governments and governments want to just throw it out there and see what happens. Well, it's a very systematic approach that we take. And our side, Paul works in the election side. Tom, Al, and myself are on the public finance side. So what we add to the equation is looking at homeowner impact so that we can give that feedback. That always seems to be probably the single biggest question, besides what streets are going to be done, is, what's it going to cost and what's the impact? From a firm standpoint, we made the commitment to do this about 20 years ago, and the reason why we did that is our business is predominantly underwriting municipal bonds. And in the state of Illinois, you only have a little over 200, I believe it's 207 governments that are home rule units of government. The other units of government need to pass referendums to do projects like this. And we created an election services group or public policy group about 20 years ago, specifically to help governments pass referendums. And they've been working on it and honing their skills on this all these years, and that's why they have such a high success rate in doing this. Again, we're more the support, but we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have, or at least give it a shot if we, as far as exactly Paul's approach. But they work with you on every aspect. It's a very hands-on approach. They don't leave anything to chance. They go through everything very thoroughly. They cover everything very thoroughly. They help draft the surveys that are going to be put out to the community. Any mail pieces they work on. Again, the cost involved to the village on this is your mailing, your printing costs. Those are costs. We do not charge for this. What we do is we put everything in to pass the referendum. Then we charge competitive rate on the bonds. And we've been very successful. When you were mentioning about doing the smaller tranches on the sale, if it was successfully approved, that's a very smart idea. You're 10 million and less, they're bank qualified, you get a better rate than if you go over 10 million in a calendar year. So it's a good approach. And we did that. We just did this with a school district and a park district that approved. Both of them were 15 to 16 million back in November last year. And what we did was we split a sale in December and a sale in January, because one was to build a new school and the other was to build a rec center. And I don't know if you, Tom, do you recall what they saved? By doing it like that. So it's significant savings, doing it bank qualified versus doing it as non-bank qualified.
You said 700 to 800.
700 to 800,000.
Yeah,
that
I'll
they
make sure it's
saved
picked up on the mic.
over the
so.
life of the bonds by doing it like that. So it was very significant. Just to split it into two sales. If you sell 10 million or less in a calendar year, it's bank qualified. So again, that we're getting ahead maybe, or I'm getting ahead on that, but again, the first order of business would be working with you to successfully pass the referendum.
With that, I'd like to see if anybody from the public has questions. I know you're close by, so if anybody
Okay.
does have any questions about this, since we're in discussion right now, please approach the podium. If you have any questions or comments. concerns about this item? Okay.
I just have a general question.
Yeah.
My name's Cheryl Tucker, 434 South Cornell. I noticed and I don't know if we've gotten to that policy yet, you have listed in there that we, as a village, will cover the travel expenses on the set. Speaking of how are they splitting this up? I mean, you're saying the traveling expenses, are they coming here on several different things and spending time with the board to set this up? What outline are you talking about a travel expense for them to do this?
Oh, thank you, Your Honor. It's my belief, as we sit here this evening and discuss this, there would be travel expenses for representatives to the company to come and meet with us, either from Chicago, or I'm not sure if you want to speak for Paul. Yeah,
yes.
you want to speak to it?
Strictly be
Yes.
for Paul.
Yeah,
coming in
that's
from
kind of what I
Denver.
was leading to, too, so.
Right,
And Paul's out of the area, obviously, so.
right. He's based in Denver.
Right. Right.
But again, that would be all with your approval.
Yes.
Okay.
Be
Well-
minimal, much of it can be done over.
And I must add to that, we've done a lot over the phone so far with Paul and all three of you and myself, et cetera. So that's the common way now, really, it's a conference call to iron things out.
But anybody else from the public wish to ask any questions or make comments, express concerns?
I'm floored that nobody else has anything to talk about, but, this is a great community.
Could you identify?
Yeah, my name is Jim Schmidt.
Yeah, for the record, thank you.
I've lived here for 37, 38 years. It's a great town. I really don't know why the infrastructure is as bad as it is, and it doesn't really matter at this point. The referendums is really the only way I can see that this town has a chance of getting proper infrastructure in place. I personally think I would, with interest rates this low, I'd go with 10 million the first year and then do the smaller amounts later because interest rates are going to accelerate up rather quickly. But you can see all the signs. I mean, this is clear. The people in this town we shouldn't have to live in streets like this. We shouldn't have to have the infrastructure that we have. We need you as trustees and the village board to do the right thing. And to do the right thing is to put it on the ballot. But that's the small step. With their assistance, then it gets a little difficult. Because in January, like you said, it's going to be here, and all of you are going to have to support this. You're going to have to go to meetings all over the community multiple times over the next 7 or 8 months. And you have to sell this to the public. They all know you have bad streets. But the streets are impacting the value of our homes. They're impacting the businesses in the community. If you want bigger businesses to come in, they have to have a good infrastructure in place in the community itself to support that. So we need to step forward and fix the streets and sewers for the people of Villa Park so that we can bring in businesses that are going to support it as well. So I ask you, please, do your jobs, give us a chance. You got to sell it, and sell it. But every picture on the wall, and I'm sure hundreds more, you realize how bad the streets are and how bad the sewers are. We need this and need it bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Anybody else from the public before we bounce it up to the board? Please state your name for the record. Try to keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Okay, I can do that. Hi, my name's Tom McQuillan.
Thank you.
I reside at 429 South Wisconsin Avenue. I'm here tonight to voice my full support for putting this item as a referendum on the ballot. I think this is a very wise decision. I think it's fantastic that you've got your consultants on hand to get the word out, to do polling of the public, to get this out way in advance and start the discussion. Mr. Schmidt talked about the responsibility of the board. I want to talk about the responsibility of the members of the community that are in the room tonight. We all need to go out and sell this to our neighbors and our friends throughout the village in order to get a positive momentum going and get this referendum passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else from the public wish to speak? Approach the podium and state your name for the record, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes if you can.
Good evening. I'll keep it short. First of all, I agree with
State your
Tim
name for the
Schmidt.
record, yes.
Alex King,
Yes.
140 West St. Charles Road,
Thank you.
Villa Park, USA. Many times at Economic Development Committee meetings, the question comes up, how do we attract businesses to our town? You attract a business the same way you attract residents, by having a nice environment. I agree that having nice streets is a really important part of that whole process. One question that I have is, several years ago, we had approached some bonding on some other developments in town. We have a $40 million limit, I believe was our limit at that point. Is that, just to put this in perspective, is that about where we are now? Are we putting about 50% of our, or maybe this question isn't proper tonight. I don't mean to catch you off guard or something, but is that about the ratio of what we're doing, borrowing about 50% of what we can borrow to do this?
Yes.
Yes, we currently, of our debt limit, and Shannon and I were looking at this today, we are only at a third of our debt limit. So that if these bonds are issued, and of course you realize that what's been suggested is it would be 2 to 3 separate issues over the next few years. And in the meantime, we're paying down what was borrowed several years ago. So on a day-to-day basis, on a year-to-year basis, we'd have to give you that number. But as of today, we're about a third of our total debt limit, so we're good.
So we're not
even
getting in deep like
close.
other
Right.
municipalities have done. I will say this, that we've had these bond issues come up before, and generally we approached them very short-sightedly, and 2 weeks before things were announced. I see a lot of heads bobbing up and down. I think this approach is a good, wise way to approach it. I think stressing the fact that we're not borrowing $23 million at one time is a good idea too. We're going to borrow maybe 10, is what's suggested here, if we can get a better deal on that, and then 2 others. That'd be like 2 years apart. Is that about what you're thinking, Manager Keenan?
Manager Keenan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I believe it is, Mr. King. It's my belief that we'd be overwhelmed if we sold $23 million worth of bonds and tried to push all these projects out the door at once. That's like humanly impossible.
Everybody would be overwhelmed.
So we have a responsibility to the citizens of Villa Park and our businesses to spend the money wisely. So that's why I kind of came up with the idea of maybe $10 million the first year, maybe an off year, and then the next year another issuance, so that we don't waste any money, that we're focused on doing the streets with that particular bond issue and not waste any money.
Well, this is an important move, and it's a difficult move, and I applaud the board. Wish you most success. Thank you.
Thank you. While he's signing in, anybody else interested in approaching the podium? Okay. Then we'll bounce it up to the board. Anybody on the board have any questions or comments? Yes, Trustee Wagner.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm looking forward to, and I certainly am intending to vote yes on this. I'm looking forward to the dialogue that's going to take place in the community about our infrastructure. But one thing that I would add, and I think a way to attract more votes to this, is to, and I know the details are going to come. This is just a vote to put this as a question in November. But my suggestion to staff and to the board is to get more people on board, is to make sure that the projects we design of course, will enhance property values. They'll make our streets safer. But we should make sure that there's something in there for people who are pedestrians, people who are bicyclists. I think that would make this whole project, this whole endeavor, much more appealing to the whole community. And I'm looking forward to hearing more of the details about that. And I think that would make me a very full-throated supporter of something like this as well. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Wagner. Anybody else from the board? Trustee Bolfus.
Well, I was here when we had the last two referendums on the board at that time. And the second time the question came up, should we put it on the out to the voters again? I basically said, if we don't do it different than what we did it the first time, we're going to get the same result. And we got the same result. We got it right. And now that we have H.K. Baum, is it? George K. Baum, here to help us, I think the good part that I like about it is they'll be able to poll the residents first and tell us if they think it's going to pass. No use putting the question out there if it's not going to pass, because really, then we just look like a bunch of idiots, you know? So we don't want that to happen again. So I like that, your approach and how you're going to do that. I do have, as far as the question from you had about the travel expenses, that's pretty well a common expense that the village pays for in any agreement we have with somebody who supplies this type of service to us. So that's a common thing. So I do have a couple questions before I have another comment. Now, if the referendum, or when the referendum passes, I'll use a positive term, and we start taking like the first 10 million, we have a certain amount of time that we have to spend that amount of money. But does that time limit apply to the entire amount of the referendum question, or just as we sell the bonds?
I defer to council, but it's 5 years. I think 5 years for the issuance from the time you
From
pass.
the beginning, from the referendum is good for 5 years, and you have to expend the proceeds generally within 2 years. You might stretch into 3. So that would work for us.
Okay.
It would work. Rich's plan would actually work.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. So it's the entire referendum amount.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
It's on general obligation. It's 85% in 3 years.
Yeah,
that you have.
I always say 2 years.
Right.
You should never get it done. So general rule is we've always gone 2 years. You could stretch into 3. I hope I said that.
And these are all general obligation bonds?
Correct.
Okay. And there's restrictions on how general obligation bonds can be used and spent by the village.
Based on the question, what you ask in the question, that will dictate what you can use the bond proceeds for. And it comes down to the wording in the question.
Okay. So what we're talking about here, the question basically would be for road reconstruction, sewer reconstruction, water reconstruction.
Correct. And that will dictate what you're going to be able to use the bond proceeds for.
So one of the reasons I asked that question is because recently there's been some articles in the paper about how the city of Chicago spends their GO bonds, and but they do whatever they want. But unfortunately, we're just a small little Villa Park.
Yeah.
So we follow the law.
We follow the law.
Well, they
and we don't
mentioned-
want to get in any trouble. So.
They have home rule.
Right.
Right, and
Yeah.
some
Exactly.
residents had wondered in the past, well, you know, if we give you this authority to use this money, how do we know it's all going to be used for the roads? You know, but it basically is, it has to be used for the roads.
Correct.
Because that's what the question is on the ballot.
Correct.
So, okay, so, appreciate that, I want to get that a little cleared up, so. But my general comment is, you know, we all see these pictures that we've had around the village hall about the water and the flooding and the sewer issues we have. But we have other issues in town too that distract from us being able to concentrate on fixing the roads. You know, we have the question on the swimming pools. You know, we need money for swimming pools. We need money for upgrading the rec department and the parks. we need money for the fire department, because they need a couple new engines. And we need money for more police officers, because people, you know, say we need more police officers, and maybe we do. So, but without a bond issue to fix the roads, we're never going to get enough money to fix the roads, because we have to take care of the pools, we have to take care of the fire department, we have to take care of the park. And those all have their demands on our assets too, and we only have a certain bucket of money. And there just isn't enough right now to take care of all our problems. The way we're doing it now is spending maybe a little over $1 million a year on the roads. We're not really getting ahead, you know. We're spending $1 million, but there's another $1 million that then $1 million worth of road that needs to have attention right away. So without this bond issue, I don't know how we're ever going to be able to solve all these problems. You know, I agree that, you know, we shouldn't have to live with not just the bad roads, but we shouldn't have to live with the sewers backing up in our basements. That's just not right. You know, nobody wants that. You know, maybe your sewer doesn't back up, the sewer doesn't back up in your basement. Maybe your road is in good shape. But we're a community. We all have to, we're all in this together. We have to take care of our neighbors. So, you know, I think we really need this. You know, and I'm in favor of putting this out to the residents to ask them if they want to hopefully say yes, that they want to have their village improved. So I would just say we should go ahead and put the question out there. So that's all.
Thank you, Trustee Bowles. Trustee Taglia?
What I like about this, we tried this twice before and it failed. And I think the real reason behind that was there was no real plan. Someone just said we need $23 million for roads, and it all went on one referendum. And I think that this measured approach to doing incremental bond issues with a real plan in place, we had town hall meetings, we met with the residents. Like Mr. Schmidt said, he's challenging the board to do the right thing. And I think this is the right thing. I know it will cost us a little bit of money, but it'll come back to us in improvements to our property values, hopefully attract new businesses. I'm pretty excited about this plan, and I'm optimistic that it will work, and definitely challenge the board to do their best to make it to all the public hearings and meetings that we're going to be having over the next several months. I think it's important that people know that we're all in this together as a community. We're all residents also. So we all share in this equally, and I just encourage the board to stick together on this and really work together. Thank you, Madam President and Manager Keener, for your hard work in bringing this about, bringing us a real plan. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Taglia. Trustee Case?
Mr. Schmidt and myself have had many conversations.
Yes.
And maybe I can answer Al's question. The roads will, our engine will last longer if we get our roads fixed.
That's true.
The question I have, and I'm totally for this, is how do we solve the people that don't have the problem?
That's a big challenge. Well, if you'd like to address that.
Property value.
Yes.
The
I
general
understand.
approach is property values.
Right.
To overall strengthen the communities, the property values of the community.
We need you up, sorry, we need you up at the podium so we can catch you on the mic. It's okay. So the folks at home can hear you too.
It allows the economic development of the village to bring in businesses, because now you're doing the road improvements and you've alleviated the flooding issues when when there's a rainstorm. You're going to have more, industry will look favorably upon coming into the village, as opposed to, well, we don't want to go there because we might get shut down for 5 days a year because of rain or whatever. So it just improves overall property values, which improves the pride of the village, and just multiplies. Synergistic effect, as Attorney Orr has said.
Thank you.
Okay.
You handled it more professionally than I could handle.
Trustee Case should give yourself a little bit more credit.
Right,
so.
No.
Yeah, so, are you okay?
Yeah, let's
Good.
get started.
Well,
Let's
we'll
go.
want to make sure anybody else on the board? Trustee Davis.
I'm impressed that we're doing something, and not trying to jam it down the residents' throats for 4 months. I complained about that the last 2 times. Taking a year, I still think it's a short time, but I think it can be done within that time. The only thing that I want to make sure that this plan has a maintenance program so our streets don't end up back where we're at now. And I think that needs to be incorporated in this whole process. So if we can make sure that that gets in there, because otherwise we're just wasting money. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Davis. Actually, a maintenance plan came up in our strategic planning session too, so it makes sense to incorporate it into this plan. So, anybody else from the board?
I have another question. I
Trustee Bolfus.
want to ask a question on the tax consequences to the residents if they vote in favor of this. Of course, your taxes will go up if you vote for a bond issue. But I think I heard the manager say that some of these bonds will be paid off with the new water and sewer rate increases that we have done, and possibly a stormwater rate that we added on, or may add on, which will help pay for some of these bonds. Now, so in a way, I'm saying, if I got that right, then the tax consequences on an individual property owner won't be for the whole $23 million, their portion. It'll be a little bit less because some of it will be carried, some of the expenses will be paid by these special funds. Did I explain that right? Okay. I want to say something.
Manager Keener?
Just say I'm right or something. For the people at home.
Good job, Al.
Manager Keener.
Thank you, Your
Like to
Honor.
comment on that?
Yes.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay, now we can move on.
That's correct. These projects, some of the projects will involve water, some of the projects will involve sewer, some of the projects involve stormwater, but all the projects are going to involve roadways. But if there's a sewer underneath the roadway, the sewer will, particular costs of the sewer main, CA6 rock, etc., will be divided out into the wastewater enterprise fund. The water main, same thing, and so it's just going to be divvied out. And you're right, it'll be less on the real estate property taxes. How much less right now, I don't know, but at least we have funding streams established to help pay for these projects already, except for storm and roadway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the board? Any comments? Well, really quick, the board did a very nice job of bringing forward their comments and their support, and I support our board. We have a really terrific board up here, and we're very excited to bring this forward and excited to see what the residents think about this. We'll put it in the residents' hands a year from now. When we refer to November, we're talking about November 2014, not this month. We're talking a year from now. It's going to take a lot of planning, and we're looking forward to seeing what the results are and being a part of the process if, in fact, we decide to move this forward when we go to consensus in a minute. So it truly is an investment in Villa Park. You know, we all receive comments and calls and emails from residents, and one of their top concerns is the conditions of the roads. You know, I don't know how many residents I've talked to that have had front and body work done on their cars, you know, tie rods replaced. We've all experienced that in some way, shape, or form. And the process will involve a lot of public engagement, and that's what we really, really wanted to come out of this. You know, a process, a plan, but also public engagement. So we're very much looking forward to that, regardless of what side you're on. We want the engagement, and we're very much looking forward to that if we decide to move this forward. It truly is an investment in our town. You know, talked about what do you do about the residents that have brand-new streets, such as the people on North Michigan. We hope they'll still come forward and potentially help us with this and their support, and everybody else, for that matter, that's experiencing new streets right now. So with that, I think if there's nothing else, we'll go to, no? Do we want to give the manager guidance, though, on where to go from here, though? Okay. So shall we do a roll call vote then on that, so the manager's clear on the guidance and the support from the board? All right, we'll do a roll call vote then, so it's on the record.
This vote is on
To give the
Provide
village manager
direction for the manager.
Yes, to allow us to move forward with putting a bond referendum on November 2014 ballot.
Got it.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Trustee Bolfus.
Yes.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Davis.
Yes.
President Bullwinkle.
Yes. That, item number 5 on the Committee of the Whole agenda, consider a resolution approving a contract between George K. Baum and the Village of Villa Park. Manager Keener?
Thank you, Your Honor. George K. Baum & Company is a qualified investment banking firm that has presented the village with a proposal to provide assistance with the preparation of any required data in order to permit the village to undertake any necessary borrowing of funds to be used for a road referendum. After a thorough review of the personnel and services provided by George K. Baum & Company, staff has deemed it to be in the best interest of the village to enter into a contract to assist in securing bonds for capital improvement projects. Compensation for George K. Baum & Company is as follows. All sums due George K. Baum & Company are contingent upon the sale of financing. Should the village determine not to have a bond election, the election fails or the financing not be completed for any other reason, George K. Baum & Company will absorb all of its respective costs and expenses except travel expenses, and the village shall not be responsible for those costs and expenses except travel expenses, and the village shall not be responsible to pay any fee to George K. Baum & Company. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Any questions and comments from the public about this item? Questions and comments from the board?
Madam President,
Trustee Taglia.
I'd just like to mention this really speaks to the reputation, the professionalism of the George K. Baum Company. So they must be pretty confident they're willing to waive all their fees if it's not successful. So thank you.
Anybody else from the board? Okay, roll call vote.
Trustee Bolfus.
Yes.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Davis.
Yes.
President Bullwinkle.
Yes. Item number 6, consider an ordinance approving a cable television franchise agreement between the Village of Villa Park and Comcast of Illinois II Incorporated. Manager Keener?
Thank you, Your Honor. Comcast of Illinois, Inc. has requested to renew its cable franchise agreement with the village in compliance with the Cable Act and the Villa Park Municipal Code. A public hearing was held prior to the board meeting this evening at 7 p.m. and notice was published in the local newspapers. Staff recommends the President and Board of Trustees renew their franchise agreement with Comcast. Your Honor, we discussed this briefly, well, thoroughly at 7 o'clock this evening at the public hearing. And this agreement that we're proposing this evening has been worked on for several months. The agreement is a template agreement that has been approved by the Page Mayors and Managers Conference as a template and then adopted throughout the suburbs. Using this template makes it easier for us, easier for Comcast to finalize these in an efficient manner. The agreement that we have before us this evening, I believe, is an 8-year agreement and talks about many of the different items that I'll let Mr. Maloney discuss this evening from Comcast, if you'd like.
Yeah. I'd like to give a very brief overview of that. That'd be great.
Certainly. Thank you, Madam President. Dan Maloney, Director of Government Affairs for Comcast. As Mr. Keener said, this is a template agreement. It incorporates the village's right-of-way ordinance into it, the village's customer protection ordinance pursuant to state statute, insurance provisions, enforcement provisions, covers the gamut of things, provides for the village's access programming, And just say, you know, we've been very happy to be able to operate here in Villa Park and look forward to continuing to do so.
Thank you. With that, any questions or comments from the public in regards to this item? Questions or comments from the board? Okay, roll call vote.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus?
Yes.
President Bullwinkle?
Yes. Item number 7, consider resolution estimating the tax levy for 2013 in compliance with the truth in taxation law. Manager Keener?
Thank you, Your Honor. The Property Tax Limitation Act precludes the county clerk from extending 2013 property taxes, excluding amounts which represent extensions for debt service, necessary services, and new property development to no more than 1.7%, in other words, CPI, of the amount of taxes extended in the previous year, in other words, for property tax cap, in order to ensure the levy is maximized in conjunction with the tax cap. The total estimated tax levy request for Villa Park, including the library, is $7,720,778. The total estimated tax levy request with the extension results in an increase of 4.86% when compared to the financial aggregate levy of $7,362,708 for the preceding fiscal year as extended. However, the cap ensures that only CPI 1.7% will be collected from existing property. Due to the very confusing nature of the Truth in Taxation Act, it is recommended that the Village of Villa Park adopt a resolution to determine the amount of money estimated to be necessary to be raised by taxation by the Village of Villa Park upon all the taxable property within the village for the year commencing May 1, 2012 and ending April 30th, 2013 at its regular meeting on November 11, 2013, in order to allow for a public hearing to be scheduled on November 25th, 2013. Your Honor, basically this evening, what we're telling the public and the board is that it's tax levy season, and we're going to, at some point in the near future, set the tax levy, and we'll be looking forward to public comment at the public hearing on November 25th. And it is very confusing. We are a tax cap community, but we do have a levy schedule that's been put together by staff. What we intend to do is publish in the newspaper 7 to 10 days prior to November 25th. We intend to hold the public hearing at 7 p.m. November 25th. So here in the chambers at 7 p.m. we'll have a public hearing on the tax levy. The first reading of the ordinance will be on the second meeting in November, which is 11/25. So at that point, we'll have the second reading of the ordinance. The first reading. The second reading of the ordinance will be December 9th. And then following that, the ordinance will be filed with the county. And after the month of December, so the deadline for us as a village to file the adopted ordinance for the tax levy will be on 12/16. And then village staff, after that, the levy has been filed with the county, will have an understanding approximately how much the levy will garner from real estate taxes, and at that point we'll start putting together our fiscal year budget, which commences May 1, 2014. And we have provided that schedule to the board and yourself of the timeline, including public comment and presentations to the board and et cetera. And in April, providing the finished document to DuPage County, which I believe is second Tuesday of April, which it has to be filed with the county, or the last Tuesday. It's in April, Your Honor. Oh. Thank you.
Any questions and comments from the board? Or, excuse me, from the public in regards to this item? State your name for the record.
Cheryl Tucker. just clarify something for me, because that statement is very confusing.
We know.
It's ridiculous.
If I'm understanding correctly, the reason for this is to vote on so that you can have a public forum meeting on the, at 7 PM on the November 25th, so we can understand what you're trying to levy? Is that all this is basically stating?
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, we're letting the public know that it's tax levy time, and on the 25th of November at 7 PM here in the chambers, we'll receive public comment towards the levy, and we'll have more documents at that time.
Explaining what exactly you're going to do. Okay.
It is very confusing.
Yes, it's ridiculous. Okay. Anybody else from the public? From the board?
Madam President.
Trustee Taglia.
Listen, the tax levy is very confusing, and maybe some people don't understand it. In fact, the first year I was on the board, I didn't really understand it either, and I voted against it. This needs a 3/5 majority to pass. That means all the trustees here have to vote for this, or it doesn't pass. And what is the tax levy? Every year, we pay property taxes, and that's, a village gets a small percentage of that to help operate our village. The rest goes to the state of Illinois. So if we don't levy the property taxes, we don't get the income. It's a usual thing. And I don't know what the other ramifications are for the state, but it's probably not good. So it is something that we do have to do every year. If we don't levy taxes, we don't get property taxes theoretically in Villa Park. Does that sound right? And it sounds like a good thing, but it basically shuts the village down. So I hope that's a basic explanation. It makes sense. So it's just an annual thing we have to do.
Thank you. Trustee Taglia. Manager Keener.
One thing, Your Honor, and board and citizens, that makes it confusing is that in Illinois we pay property taxes in arrears. But yet we're looking forward to May 1st, 2013, or 14, for the fiscal year. So it's really kind of odd. So you have to look backwards to see what you garner, to look forward to see what you have to spend. So it's really, it's very confusing. But the public hearing will be 7 PM, November 25th, here in the chambers. Thank you.
Anybody else from the board? Trustee Wagner.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to react to one thing that Trustee Taglia said. Most of our property taxes don't go to the state of Illinois. They go to fund our schools. About 65% of our property taxes go to that. So I just wanted to make that remark.
Thank you, Trustee Wagner.
All right.
That's right.
Anybody else from the board? Okay, roll call vote.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Case,
Yes.
Trustee Davis,
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus,
Yes.
Trustee Taglia,
Yes.
President Bullock.
Yes. Okay, item number 8, almost there. Item number 8, consider a resolution authorizing change order number 1 to the contract between the Village of Villa Park and Globe Construction Incorporated for the 2013 50/50 Sidewalk Improvement Program. Manager Keener?
Thank you, Your Honor. The 2013 50/50 Sidewalk Improvement Program is a success. Due to resident demand and interest, staff is proposing change order number 1, which is just the last change order, consisting of the removal and replacement of an additional 7,000 square feet of public sidewalk for a total program quantity of 19,000 square feet. Net amount of proposed change order number 1 is an addition of $38,750 for a revised contract amount of $110,350. And Your Honor and Board and citizens, truly this year the 50/50 program has been such a success. I'm sure as you've drove around the village, you've seen many barricades on the sidewalks, and it's been truly a success. We had, I think, right around $71,000 this year budgeted for that, and we exceeded that. And quite honestly, I think it's needed in certain areas, and we didn't do it last year, and that's another reason why it's we have a change order. So really, if you look at it, we were probably going to spend $60,000 last year and probably another $60,000 this year, so it's kind of a wash if you look at it that way. But I'll be quiet, Your Honor. Thank you.
Any questions and comments from the public in regards to this item? Questions and comments from the board?
Madam President,
Trustee Bolfus.
does this take care of everybody who requested to participate in the program?
Thank you, Your Honor. Honestly, no, it does not. I believe we have additional requests that we did not carry forward, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm one. So I kind of dropped out of the program myself. But I believe we have more that we can address next year.
So they'll just roll over into next year?
Yes.
Okay.
But obviously, it looks like Director Giskelis wants to make a comment.
There's probably
Director of Public
another
Works.
10,000 that we could have added, but because we're getting late in the season and we anticipate having another program next year, we thought it best to cut it off at where we're at and where the contractor feels they can get this work done. The remaining work that's proposed, they feel they can do in 3 days.
Do it right. Do it right in 3 days.
Madam President?
Trustee Taglia.
I have a question. A resident asked me if there was no money available to do the 50-50 split, would we allow them to just go ahead and pay for the sidewalk themselves?
Residents can do sidewalk work via permit at any time, but the village would not participate financially in that work.
Anybody else? Board? My only comment is the residents have been really happy that we brought back the 50-50 program. It was off the docket for quite a while, so it was nice that we brought it back. All right. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
President Bowling?
Yes, okay. We will now convene to the formal agenda. I'm going to switch a couple things around. We've got a very patient family and Community Pride Commission sitting here. So I'm going to go with letter C under the Village President's Report, presentation of Halloween decorating awards, Community Pride Commission. So yes, so please go ahead and approach the podium.
Good evening.
Yes, please.
It's that time of year again. Community Pride Commission here to do our Halloween decorating awards and to remind everybody that the next awards are going to be the holiday decorating awards. So keep an eye out for your neighbors, send in nominations. We really enjoy going and looking at all the beautiful homes and what everybody does with their stuff. This year we had 2 great winners. I don't know if the pictures are on the website. If they're not, we'll try and get them up there. But if we could, I have from the Pride Commission, Carol Davis, Shannon Sherlock, Al Stash over there, and I don't know where Alicia is.
Oh, she's right behind you.
Oh, there she is.
Alicia
Bailey.
There she is.
Anyhow, I'd also like to just remind everybody, we have junior commissioners on the Pride Commission. The one problem is our 2 junior commissioners are both seniors, and they're going to be going away to college. So, which is wonderful, except for those that have to pay the bill. And so we're looking for some new junior commissioners coming this spring. So we're hoping, kids, that you check us out on the website, envelopeport.com, and put in your nominations. It's a fun commission. Okay, our first winners, I don't know if their decorations are still up and out, but are Jane and Danny Maher at 506 North Chatham. Congratulations. Thank you so much. We so enjoy it. And then our next winners, mixing the scary with the fun, is Dave and Nancy Suter from 424 South Summit, and I think they're getting their sidewalk done. A lot of homemade stuff and just really creative, and we really enjoy doing that. But
thank
you so much, and thank you for helping make our town a much nicer place.
Very much so.
And
thanks to the Community Pride Commission
On
for
behalf
being
of
so
the
involved.
Community Pride Commission, when you talk about holiday decorating awards, Joyful Traditions coming up, December 7th, Saturday, 6 to 8:30. Santa Claus, food, trolley car, horse wagons, a lot of fun.
I'm there.
You're there? Okay,
always there.
good. And you're there.
I will be there, yes.
On the fire truck, right?
I'll do whatever
All
you
right,
want me to do.
President. All right.
I'll be there for you. Okay, thank you. Thanks again to the Community Pride Commission and the winners of the Halloween contest. That was great. Thank you again. Thank you. Okay. Next up, under Village President's Report, proclamation recognizing School Board Members' Day as November 15th, 2013. Whereas school board members are elected to sit in trust for their diverse communities and in that capacity are charged with meeting the community's expectations and aspirations for the public education of their children. And whereas school board members are entrusted with the guardianship and wise expenditure of scarce tax dollars, and they are responsible for maintaining and preserving the buildings, grounds, and other areas of the school district that the community has put in their trust. And whereas school board members are responsible for providing leadership that ensures a clear shared vision of public education for their schools that sets high standards for the education of all students, and requires the effective and efficient operation of their districts. And whereas school board members adopt public policy to give voice to that leadership and employ a superintendent to administer board policy, and are also responsible for the regular monitoring of the district's performance and compliance with the state policy. And whereas school board members selflessly donate countless hours to public service with no compensation. And whereas employers are supportive of their employees who serve as school board members, generously lending support and time, employers give their employees the opportunity to better serve the needs of the school districts and citizens they represent through sometimes tremendous sacrifices to the employer. And whereas decisions made by school board members indirectly impact the quality of their life in their communities, placing them at the front line of American democracy. And now, therefore, I, Deborah Bullwinkle, Village President of Villa Park, do hereby proclaim November 15th, 2013 as School Board Members' Day as a way to honor those citizens who devote so much of their time and energy for the education of our children. Dated on this day, November 11th, 2013. And then the second proclamation is a proclamation commemorating the 100th anniversary of Trinity Lutheran Church, Villa Park, Illinois. Whereas Trinity Lutheran Church established its presence in Villa Park 100 years ago on November 16, 1913, located in the Ardmore School building. And whereas the church was later located at the site where the library now stands, in 1956, that property was sold and Trinity Lutheran built a new church where it currently stands, located at 300 South Ardmore Avenue. And whereas Trinity Lutheran Church now has a congregation of 700. And whereas Trinity Lutheran Church provides services to its congregation and to the community, which include a preschool, the Trinity Music School, and a boxing program. Now therefore, I, Deborah Bullwinkle, Village President of the Village of Villa Park, proclaim Saturday, November 16th, 2013 as Trinity Lutheran Church Day in Villa Park, and congratulate and support Trinity Lutheran Church for its past and continued efforts on behalf of the community of the Village of Villa Park. Dated this day, the 11th day of November, 2013. A quick little congratulations to both. And just a couple more things really quick. Trinity Lutheran Church actually had their 100th anniversary dinner last night, and Trustee Case and Trustee Wagner and Clerk Kornecki and myself, we attended the dinner. It was a very nice event, and we got a really good history lesson on the history of the church and the congregation, and it was a very lovely event. So with that, just a few other things on my little list here. Manager Keener, I've asked you to provide us with a little bit of an explanation in regards to our elderly services program, and that's administered through our police department. So I'm looking at our police chief, Bob Pavelchek, who's approaching the podium. You could give us a quick little overview, now with the weather changing and people's needs might be changing. You can tell us a little bit about this program. It's my understanding that we're one of just a few police departments that have this program.
Well, I don't know what the weather has to do with it, but we do maintain.
Well, they get cold, and
well, it does get cold,
you have to watch out for each other, especially our senior residents.
The program that we currently operate gathers data not only on seniors but on other residents who are in some kind of need, and we feed that data into a database that we then keep in our dispatch computer so that when the police department goes to a location in the community, or the fire department goes, that information populates. Now, been gathering that data from before I got here, and quite honestly, the Smart 911 program that we participate with in the county does an excellent job supplementing that and almost, I don't want to say replacing it, but it certainly provides the information because the data we've been keeping is about first responders. Now, we do not run any social services here through the village, and quite honestly, if we would like to populate a database and provide the social services, that's certainly something that I think would be a good budget initiative going forward for the future years. Because but this data is something we guard pretty closely. It's almost like medical records. I mean, the seniors don't want us giving their information out willy-nilly. But again, we solicit, and if you take a look at the web page on the current website, which is changing, it asks for that information, but it asks for that information specifically so we can identify issues that when we go for a call, you know, my mother is 86. She does not live alone. But if she did, I'd like to know that somewhere in a database for the police or fire or EMS service would be information that say call her sons and have the information there. And that's what we're doing with our data right now. Now, along with that, we work with the Senior Concerns Commission to give presentations whenever we can through our citizens and law enforcement together, the SALT program. And quite honestly, I don't know if that's done by letter. I don't think we do it by mailings. I think we do that by more of word of mouth and phone tree with the members of the different senior organizations from the churches, the community groups, certainly the Senior Concerns Commission. So there, we do have officers that we sent to training, and they're called, I can't remember the exact title, ESO, Elderly Service Officers, and it's a little bit of training. If I can make this analogy, I have two brothers, and one of them is with me taking care of our mother, who's now 86, and that brother never had any kids. And for those of us that have raised kids, when our kids were little, we had to take care of them. When our parents get old, we have to take care of them, and it's the same issues. My brother doesn't have any idea how to handle this, and he's trying to make all these decisions about our mother, but he never raised kids. He doesn't know what he's dealing with. Same thing, too, with the programs in the education. These officers have gone to school to understand a little bit, to put themselves in the shoes of the senior, know what crimes are perpetrated against seniors, what special needs seniors have, so that if an officer were to run, another beat officer is handling a call, not exactly sure what to do, call this trained officer over and says, hey, wait a minute, let me take over, because he's got a little bit of knowledge about how seniors operate, how they're wired, how they like to fit into their patterns, and let him take over and provide the assistance he can. So that's another place where we keep this database, so that if we have residents in town that need that little extra TLC, we've got some people with that elderly touch, and hope they're not going to one of those calls now. That sounds like the fire department anyway, so, yeah. When seconds count. So, so that's a little bit about what the program is about. And again, we populate that data with our seniors into our dispatch computer so that when we go to respond to calls, we have an idea what's going on. We also populate data for any other special needs circumstances. If someone were to have a child or a parent with dementia, a child with, say autism or some disability that we would need to know about in a neighborhood, that's certainly stuff that we need to have to put into our dispatch computer. But again, that's a Smart 911 issue, and that's the exact place to put that kind of stuff.
So if anybody watching tonight or knows somebody who would like to participate in this program, who do they contact?
It's right on our website, but if you don't have web access, it's coordinated by Sergeant Tyson Johnson, who's one of the afternoon shift supervisors, and he can be reached at the police department.
And your general number is?
834-7447.
All right.
Area code 630.
Yes. All right.
What's that?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Couple other items. Just want to recognize today is Veterans Day, and really want to recognize all the active and retired military personnel that we have out there, as well as those that have given their lives for our freedom, for our country. So appreciate all of your hard work on behalf of our freedom. Really appreciate your service. Also, just a reminder that brush and leaf collection will end on November 30th. This means you can put unlimited bags of leaves and brush on the curb without a sticker. So last day of the month, November 30th. Just want to put that on your radar. I'll give you one more reminder at the end of the month. Also, speaking of leaves, I was out and about quite a bit this weekend. I saw a number of people blowing their leaves into the street and then not picking them up. So please, if you're gonna use a leaf blower, blow them in the street, that's fine as long as you pick up after yourself. Because that all ends up in our sewers, goes down the drain and clogs everything up, and we're in the rainy season now, and it just creates more havoc and problems. So really, if you're gonna do it, please clean up after yourself and clean up the leaves out of the street and keep the drains clear. Appreciate that. Also, as we get closer to Thanksgiving, the VFW is still in need of a few more donations to cover the costs associated with turkey and ham donations for families over the Thanksgiving holiday. They're $15 a piece, so if you're interested in donating, Manager Keener, would you like to?
Your Honor, we're short $75 to make our commitment to 40 turkeys.
Oh, so we need $75 to close that gap for the remaining donations to help feed hungry families in Villa Park this year. So if you're interested in donating, I've got the VFW number, 630-834-5051. Or can they donate through the village or just go straight through?
Absolutely, you can stop at Village Hall in my office, and Erin will certainly take your money.
And her number is 630-592-6052. And then also, speaking of Thanksgiving, one last thing. The village is participating in a recycling program that recycles used cooking oil. So there's more information about this on our website, and perhaps Trustee Wagner is going to maybe talk a little bit more about this in his presentation. But there's information about this where you can actually drop off the used cooking oil following Thanksgiving on Saturday, November 30th from 9 to noon. And it looks like our location will be at Public Works, 11 West Home. And you can bring your used cooking oil in a milk jug, bucket, or container, some sort of container. And this is the first time we've done this program. So there's a number of municipalities that are participating in this, and it's exciting that we are participating in this as well. So don't pour it down your drain. You can bring it to Public Works. Alrighty. With that, we'll move on to item number 2 on the formal agenda, public comments on agenda items. This is in regards to items 4 through 7 on the formal agenda. If anybody has anything on your mind in regards to those items on the agenda, approach the podium. Otherwise, we're going to move on to item number 3, amendments to the agenda. All right, so this is the point where the board, if you have any amendments to the formal agenda, wasn't so specific this first time, I'm sorry about that. This is a formal agenda. Anybody on the board has any amendments or
Madam President?
Tabling, this is now the time. Okay, yes.
I request that item C on the consent agenda be moved to wherever it gets moved to now. So,
following the consent agenda.
I think it goes right after the consent agenda.
Yes. Okay, so do we need a motion for that?
Yes.
Okay, do you make that motion then?
We need a motion for that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so moved.
Madam President,
Okay,
I'll second that.
Okay. Trustee Wagner, second. Okay. Questions and comments from the board on that one? Okay. Do we need to do a roll call vote on that? Okay.
Your hand, or
Yep.
voice.
Okay. Let's do a roll call vote for the record.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Excuse me. Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Volpus?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
President Bobek?
Yes. So we'll move that to immediately following the consent agenda. So number 4 on the formal is the consent agenda. Read these through really quick. Going to be reading A through, let's see here, A through I. I'll just read the headings. A, minutes from village board meeting for October 28th, 2013. B, minutes from village COW for October 28th, 2013. First and final reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, amending the order of village board business and rules of citizen participation. First and final reading of an ordinance approving an economic incentive agreement by and between the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, and Lucky Motors Incorporated. Letter F, resolution approving proposal from Voorhees Associates LLC for an employee classification compensation study. G, resolution approving the annual budget of the Sugar Creek Golf Course for fiscal year 2014. H, resolution estimating the tax levy for 2013 in compliance with the Truth in Taxation Law. I, resolution approving the 4th amendments to a lease agreement between the Village of Villa Park and New Singular Wireless, PCS LLC. Have a motion on the consent agenda?
Madam President,
Trustee Taglia.
I'll move for the consent agenda.
The second?
Madam President.
Okay, is that Trustee Davis?
Second.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board? Okay, roll call vote.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
President Bowling.
Yes. Okay. The new number 5 would be first and final reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park granting a conditional use for second drive-through lane and parking variation at 350 East St. Charles Road.
What happened to the McDonald's?
Oh,
You pass. You're done. Gotta sign it up.
Where does the McDonald's go now?
right now, we're doing it right now.
Well, you're reading the U-Haul.
Yeah, this is the new, no, this is the new number 5. No, drive-through, this is letter C. Under the consent agenda, it's the new number 5.
Okay.
Because you wanted it moved to after the consent agenda.
I'm gonna have to need to do a scorecard with this.
We're getting it. It's the new number 5, so I'll reread that. First and,
She's going back and doing the
Yes.
one you pulled off.
yes,
It's simple.
we're moving.
Well, if Al got confused, I got confused.
It's the new number 5.
That's all right, whatever.
Whatever was pulled off.
You guys are good,
consent,
right?
that's what
Good,
we're
that's all
doing.
it counts.
Oh, yeah, no, they're good. Okay, I'll reread it really quick. The new number 5. First and final reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park granting a conditional use for the second drive-through lane and parking variation at 350 East St. Charles Road. Consideration of a first and final reading of an ordinance approving a conditional use for a second drive-through lane and variation for reduction in parking for McDonald's located at 350 East St. Charles Road. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this request at their meeting of October 10th, 2013.
Your Honor.
Yes, Manager Keener?
Your Honor, I believe Director Grill would like to make a few comments and introduce his guest.
Alrighty, will do. Patrick Grill, Director of Community Development.
Thank you. Tonight, you're going to be considering an ordinance approving a conditional use and parking variation request for the McDonald's at 350 East St. Charles Road. A proposal was put forth by Andrew Utan, V3, on behalf of McDonald's for a second drive-through lane and parking variation. The McDonald's owns an additional parcel immediately to the north of the existing restaurant, and part of their request to include a second drive-through lane included a parking variation and a request to add some additional spaces on that lot to the north. But as we got into the discussions at the Planning and Zoning Commission level, we came to the conclusion that the second drive-through lane was needed, and they did recommend approval of that. And they did agree that the parking on the lot to the north should be land banked as opposed to being constructed right now, but be land banked in case it was needed in the future. Therefore, the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of that conditional use with the parking variation and the land banking element, and that is included in your ordinance this evening. I would like to introduce now Andrew Utan from V3, who is representing John O'Keefe, who is the owner and operator of the McDonald's restaurant.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you.
Hello, Madam President and members of the board. I'm Andrew Utan of V3 Companies, 7325 James Avenue in Woodridge. Patrick gave a really great summary of what it is we're trying to do. Right now, the restaurant was recently rebuilt back in 2001. It's been operating in that fashion since then. It was originally opened in the early 70s and then torn down and rebuilt back in 2001 as part of their rebuild program as well. But the restaurant as it functions right now with the drive-through has one lane with two menu boards and two speaker boxes. So the idea is that two cars can be placing an order at the same time. Unfortunately, the slowest part of the McDonald's drive-thru is someone that's not sure what they want to order, or someone with such a large order that the entire lane gets backed up. So we're basically taking that element away by adding a second drive-thru lane that'll always be open. So if there's someone that does have an order that takes, they're not sure of what they want, or if they're placing such a large order that it takes extra time, there's still another lane constantly flowing, constantly bypassing them to get to the cash window and then eventually to the present window to pick up their food. The idea is that we can generate more flow through the lot, more customers get their food quicker, because there's no longer that element of someone taking extra time to place their order. As part of the McDonald's program to install this, it's a very scientific element and geometrically designed. We had to eliminate, I think, 16 parking stalls in order to accommodate the drive-thru itself and allow for customers that don't want to get into the drive-thru to go around it. As such, what we're asking for is a reduction of the 56 parking stalls that are currently on the lot down to 40, with a potential for land-banked parking in the future to add additional 8 stalls on the residential lot to the north, which is completely grass. We don't want to add it unless we absolutely have to, based on the customers that we see are trying to find parking spaces on the lot. But we will do it if it's needed. It's one of those things where you don't want people driving around your lot and realizing they can't find a spot and leave. Or if they see that for some reason our drive-thru is backed up, that they can't go inside and eat, because this one does have a play place, so it's busier on weekends. So it's all about the customer, making sure there's always availability for the customer. So, we're welcome to any questions you may have. The operator of the restaurant is here, Mr. Johnny O'Keefe, and I'm here on behalf of the corporation as well as the engineer on the project.
Open up to the board here. What's on your mind? Have anything on your mind? Any questions?
No,
Trustee Bolfus?
the only thing I notice is that the drive-through you have now does get backed up a lot, so definitely you need another lane there, so I don't have any trouble with it.
Anything else? All right, and we will roll call vote. Move this forward. Oh, this is the first and final reading.
Yes.
So we need to do a roll call though, or consensus.
Roll call.
Motion. Oh, I'm sorry. We do need a motion.
Oh.
Have we got a motion?
No, she's
Okay.
absolutely right.
We're all kabobbled up here, so do we have a motion to move this forward? Okay. Trustee Davis? Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, Trustee Taglia. Okay, any questions, additional questions, comments? All right, roll call vote.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
President Bullwinkle?
Yes. Okay. The new number 6 under the formal. First reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park granting a conditional use for truck and trailer rental 102-298 West Roosevelt Road in the Villa Oak Shopping Center. A public hearing was originally held on this request before the Planning and Zoning Commission on July 11, 2013. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this item at their meeting of October 10, 2013. Have a motion on item? Motion on the first reading?
Madam President?
Yes.
I'll make that
Trustee
motion.
Wagner. Have a second?
Madam President?
Yes.
I'll second.
Okay. Questions and comments from the board? Any questions and comments? Any questions and comments from the board?
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding? Yes. Trustee Bolfus. Trustee Bolfus.
Looking at some of the conditions that the planning and zoning put on there, one of them was a fence on the east end of the property. And another one were some new plantings along the east end of the property. Has any of that taken place, and has any of that been done?
Manager Keener, would you like to address this, or Director Grill?
That's fine, Your Honor. Director Grill, I
Okay.
believe would like to respond.
Okay.
You're inquiring as to whether or not any of the proposed improvements associated with this condition use have been done?
Right.
No, the answer is no.
So no occupancy permit will be issued until those are done.
Because this is a conditional use, and you have the ability to place conditions on that, the village staff could not issue an occupancy unless the conditions of that ordinance had been met.
Well, one of my concerns is right now is that one of the conditions is to plant some trees along the east side. I think a total of 7, and winter's coming. And if they plant anything now or shortly after this, it's probably going to die. So I don't see that getting done before he needs an occupancy permit. And to be generous, I know that we've had some issues with the owner of the mall getting things done on a timely basis, if at all. So if we can't issue him an occupancy permit until all this is done, Mr. Pickerel, who happens to own the U-Haul business, is kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I'm really, you can put the fence on up later. I went by there tonight. There's no lights have been installed, like you said. The fence obviously is not there, nor the planting system. But the lighting and the fence, you could probably do that into winter. My concern is about the bushes. And if we issued an occupancy permit before the bushes were planted, they may never get planted. Or we're not going to issue an occupancy permit and Mr. Pickerel won't be able to move over there. And all this was just an exercise of futility.
If your concern is the landscaping and the timing of that landscaping and whether or not the village will be able to have it installed prior to, weather setting in, the village can, as it does in other projects, require that a cash bond be placed for the installation of that landscaping when the weather would allow for it, so that the village would have a guarantee that that would be installed at an appropriate time that would ensure that it would take.
Well, that's where I was heading. They have some money put in a bond or an escrow or somewhere where if the owner there does not do the installation, if after the occupancy permit, the village would have the funds to be able to draw from and to do the installation.
Correct.
So my recommendation would be that that is added on to this requirement. Now, so you get all the wording and all the, and now the paperwork's done right, to make sure that that's included. I'm tempted to say that maybe we could table this until that wording is done, let's say until the first meeting in December. Would that be, say the attorney, is that possible that we could?
Why couldn't you do it the next meeting in November?
This is not a first and final
Well, I
tonight.
didn't know how soon you guys could do that, so.
Oh, the only thing we want to do is we want to verify what type of an escrow. Is it
Right.
going to be, if it's a bond, it has to be a performance bond running to the village so that if he doesn't do it, we can immediately act on it, or cash. And this is first and final?
No, this is a first.
Okay, so we can still go forward with the first. We can keep going. Go with first, and we should be able to resolve this in 2 weeks.
But I know too that we're in no hurry because the U-Haul does not have to move yet. Might not have to move for some time.
It's dependent on when the banquet facility moves
Right.
forward.
Right. So, I would really like to see the fence done, everything done before we approve this.
Oh.
But I don't know if we can do that
Yeah.
because of the time constraints. So.
We can, well, first of all, if you do go forward with first reading, we could get a bond for all of the items, and then if you are satisfied at the next meeting, if not, table at the next meeting. You're giving us a chance to produce what we all agree safeguards the village.
Yeah. And I agree with that. Maybe we should get a bond for all the work that needs to be done.
That's it, right, before we get occupancy.
Before we give him.
There's no reason it should just, right, unless he gets it done.
Unless he gets it done. He's not going to get the planning done.
Let me clarify that between the two.
Okay.
You're saying we can get a bond for the improvements once the board approves the conditional use?
No, the conditional use will be, we will rewrite this, we will amend it to state that one of the conditions are the posting of a bond in the amount of X dollars, because you'll need an estimate, unless, and until it's satisfied, so that the bond is there regardless of when, who, what, where.
But maybe I'm confused. I think you were maybe saying that we should get the bond even before we approve the second reading of the ordinance.
No.
Okay.
As long as it's in the document.
Right.
Okay.
That's all we need.
All right.
No certificate of occupancy without surety.
Right.
That's it.
Okay.
And then you guys will have to figure out how much that surety should be.
Right.
Right, that's what we
And
don't
we'll have that
know.
at the next meeting.
And if we don't,
We'll
we
table
would
it.
understand tabling.
Okay, correct. That's it.
Anybody else from the board? I just have one comment. I'm very happy to learn through conversations with you, Director Grill, and with Trustee Bolfus, and with the manager, that the folks that live in the condo that basically kind of sort of face the back of where these trucks are going to be parked in the side have been active participants in this process from the get-go. The residents of Willow Point condos right there. So appreciate knowing that they've been involved with this. Okay. Anybody else from the board?
Madam President, just a
yes.
clarification. So I think it's specified that the trucks will have to exit at the traffic signal, is that correct?
Sorry. Director Grill.
Yes, one of the conditions of this request was that any trucks associated with the U-Haul would not be able to utilize the Ardmore Avenue exit out of the Villa Oak Shopping Center and would need to access the light on Roosevelt Road.
Does that apply to trailers as well? Is it?
Yes, it does.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank
Madam
you.
President?
Yes,
One
Trustee
more-
Bolfus. Mhm.
One of my concerns is, I went by there tonight, and, I think the ordinance calls for 27 or so parking places.
Correct.
He's got 27 trucks there, not counting trailers, he's gotta have 35 or so pieces of equipment back there. So, how in the world is he gonna squeeze all those in there?
That's a good question.
There's 24 trucks or 25 trucks out there right now. They just stack them on top of each other. But then,
They're showing 27 parking spaces on the site plan. And that's what the petitioner agreed to in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission, and that's what was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. And they all have to be signed for that. I guess the question becomes, if he gets more pieces out there than what is signed for, what ability does the village have to take any additional action against either the petitioner or the owner of the shopping center?
yeah, I remember him at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting and reading over the minutes that the 27 would be fine. All the trucks aren't there at the same time. There's 35 pieces out there. So, there's going to be a problem. And this is a problem, this whole thing, squeezing him in there. And it is a condition of use. He really belongs in an M district, if I remember, you got that right, not in a C.
Well, it's a permitted use in the M districts,
Yeah.
but requires a conditional use in a C3 district.
All right, we'll move it on with the conditions we talked about. I don't see how he's going to put all the equipment and maintain it in order to.
And he's an existing tenant, and just basically relocating to make room for the redevelopment, if you will, of the banquet hall that's coming to the area.
Correct.
To that mall, so. Okay. Trustee Wagner, you had something on
Yeah,
that?
I would just like to add that they don't own that equipment. It's owned by a U-Haul company, and that equipment is kind of transient. Some of that equipment goes out one way. Some of it may stay in the area for a while, but there's an ebb and flow of that equipment in and out of that facility. So, probably he may actually have 27 pieces of, you know, trucks and trailers. You know, it's not a it's gonna change a lot depending on the season.
Here's another question, Director Rowe. What's the enforcement that you can do if he has 35 pieces of equipment out there and only 27 parking spaces? Is there anything we can do if it turns out to be a
Yes,
real mess?
where are they parking? Let's talk about where they would be parking, if they'd be parking in a way that would obstruct ingress and egress, thereby creating a nuisance of any sort. We would absolutely want to fine him, ticket him, issue a citation.
If he
That's the easy part, in my opinion. The hard part is if he's lawfully parking them in a marked space and not creating any issues related to access.
What Trustee Boss has just said is there's 27 spaces and 35 trucks. So my assumption is they're not in spaces, properly assigned spaces.
Right.
Well, that's the thing. He does have to sign 27 spaces for U-Haul only, but there are hundreds of parking spaces in the center itself.
Does he have access and easement rights for those?
That I couldn't tell you. I would assume that he has all the same rights as any other tenant of the shopping center, but I don't know for sure.
Well, he has a lot of room around the back, but the Illinois Department of that's very packed in the back there during the day.
Correct.
Now, tonight, there's absolutely nothing back there except for the U-Haul trucks. So, you know, that's no problem at night, but during the day, there could be those cars in the back for the Illinois Department of, which is it, Human Resources or something like that. Could park in there, could be front, so. Okay, as long as he doesn't block the aisles and stuff, then he's the right place for the police department.
Correct.
Now I understand.
I'll be watching.
Okay. Trustee Case.
I don't think he really has any control over an overflow of what he has coming in there.
No, that's the problem.
So then, I mean, if he has to make something like, he has an overflow, then charge him $5 a day for an overflow or something. I don't know.
Oh, $5.
Well, I know you're high price.
High maintenance.
Oh, I didn't want to go there with that.
Here we go
No,
again.
that's a tough call.
I tell you.
I agree.
Wow.
We're trying to accommodate a business
Right.
existing.
They don't want to scare nobody away.
They don't want
but-
to scare anybody away.
Right. That's hard to control.
Yeah.
But I'm sure our police chief will handle it.
Pretty much.
Another parking lot.
So we're gonna pass this on with the conditions that the attorney and Patrick works on the escrow.
Before we do that, anybody else on the board? Anything else to add? Before we go, okay, to a roll call vote then? All right, roll call vote.
Trustee Bolfus?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
President Bowling?
Yes. Okay. New item number 7 on the formal. First reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park granting a conditional use for automobile sales at 805 West North Avenue. A public hearing was held on this request before the Planning and Zoning Commission on September 12, 2013. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this item. Staff recommends the village president and board of trustees approve a conditional use for auto sales at 805 West North Avenue. Do I have a motion?
Madam President?
Item? Trustee, who's that? Taglia?
Yeah. I'll move for the item. I don't know what number it is.
It's number, we're on item, the new item number 7. Making fun of me?
7.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's all right. Is there a second? Anybody on that end? No?
Madam President,
Okay,
I'll second that
trustee-
motion.
Okay, get a little punchy up here. Any questions or comments from the board? All righty, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Bolfus?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
No.
President Bowling?
Yes. Item number 8, new item number 8. Resolution authorizing change order number 1 to the contract between the Village of Villa Park and Globe Construction Incorporated for the 2013 50/50 Sidewalk Improvement Program. The 2013 50/50 Sidewalk Program, Improvement Program is a success. Due to resident demand and interest, staff is proposing change order number 1, consisting of the removal and replacement of an additional 7,000 square feet of public sidewalk for a total program quantity of 19,000 square feet. The net amount of proposed change order number 1 is an addition of $38,750 for a revised contract amount of $110,350. Have a motion on item number 8?
Madam President,
Trustee Davis.
make a motion.
Trustee Wagner, want to do second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus.
Yes.
President Bowling.
Yes. Okay. New item number 9, village clerk's report.
Yes.
Okay, what's that for us tonight?
Okay, I did want to mention one thing. The Senior Concerns Commission is changing the time of their meeting. It's the first Monday of every month. They are now going to be meeting as of January at 6 p.m., and that will be right here in the Village Hall in the COW room. So we just want to make sure there will be a notice also posted on that before January in December, so that the December meeting has been canceled. That will be posted for the public as well as the new information. And then, want to make sure everybody knows that this Friday is a spaghetti dinner fundraiser by the Kiwanis over at Willowbrook High School. And adults are $6, and it's a little bit less for our seniors, and some kids get in free. Anyway, it's a really fun dinner. It's going to be a lot of fun. And also, if anyone wants to stay for the play that Willowbrook is putting on, Into the Woods, and that is a separate entity by itself. We're not part of that. But that is a nice evening with dinner and movie or play. Thank you. That's it.
Well, thank you. New item number 10, unfinished business, none. New item number 11, new business, none. Item number 12, public comments on non-agenda items. It's your opportunity to approach the podium. State your name for the record. And try to leave your comments in 3 minutes.
I'll keep it short. Mike Orlowski of Oak Park.
Okay.
Last meeting I was here in regards to our pothole patching and the new hot box that we had purchased to do this. And if our employees had gotten proper training on how to use this. And I'm here again tonight to find out if that's taken place, if it was the training for the employees, or if it was purchased that they got training. So I'm inquiring and to me this is part of, if we want to fix our streets, then let's make sure people are trained on how to fix them after we get them.
Yes. Vitas Jaskalis, our Director of Public Works, is approaching the podium to answer your question. All right.
Yes,
Thank you.
staff has been trained. And I apologize, I had asked our street superintendent to contact Mr. Orlowski, but he retired. So now I asked the new street superintendent to contact him, and I will make sure he does so.
Okay. All right. Okay, you good? So you will be getting a phone call, Mike. Okay. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you for that. Anybody else from the public on agenda items? Okay. New number 13, Village Manager's Report. What do you have for us tonight?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm just going to keep it very short. We went back into our Village of Villa Park website, transparency section, did some more work in that section, had it regraded. We are now at a 91.4. So we are, as I am led to believe, we're in the top 10 of the state of Illinois and the second in DuPage County. Another update, I believe, and Director Gola, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe all the dugouts are installed at Jefferson. Awesome, okay. And I believe all the roofs are on. It's very close, it appears.
Director of Parks and Rec, Greg Gola, approaching.
One more roof to put on, and then the corrugated structure. So that's it. They were out there today, and then it started raining. So they were trying to finish up today. So it'll be by the end of the week, weather permitting.
So what that means, board and citizens, that we have 8 dugouts installed and 1 remaining roof that needs to be, the corrugated steel needs to be put on. We have selected a site near the Jefferson ball fields for the batting cages, and we'll be working on those during the month of November, weather permitting. I didn't think it would be snowing today, so hopefully we can get the batting cages in before the real snow flies. Phillip Park Rotary did something very neat last week. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of last week, they had a shoe and boot drive where they met at Payless Shoes on North Avenue. And there were certain families that needed some shoes, so Rotary here in Villa Park fitted 105 children with brand new shoes for free. And I thought that was awesome myself. So.
Congrats to the Rotary.
And just a reminder, we need $75 more for the turkeys. So thank you, Your Honor.
Very welcome. Thank you. Okay, new number 14, Village Attorney.
No report.
No report tonight? Okay, new item number 15, Village Trustees Report. We'll go with Trustee Davis. Anything on your mind tonight?
I think that this board should be able to come up with that extra money for you. I agree.
$75.
I know, I've deposited a check.
Yep, I have too. I've given.
Come on, guys.
A little bit
kick
of
it in.
pressure.
Peer pressure.
Yeah,
Peer
all
pressure.
right.
Other than that, I have nothing. Donate.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you, Trustee Davis. Trustee Wagner.
Thank you,
How
Madam
doing?
President. Just a couple items. I attended the Cable Commission's monthly meeting and was very interested to learn about all the great things that they're doing, including a game show that they're going to be televising, which sounds very unique. They're looking for audience members and maybe folks to help with equipment as well, and for other projects they're looking for people to tote equipment, help with cameras, etc. So I was just very impressed with all the different projects that they have going on. Just want to chime in with you what you said about the Trinity Lutheran's 100th anniversary. Just want to thank the pastor and the congregation for being so gracious. It was a beautiful service and a wonderful banquet, and just watching some of the slides that they had, of their 100 years was really special. I just want to say that I appreciated what you said about school board members, and I just want to add, library board members as well. They're servants. They serve for serving's sake, and they don't expect a reward. They don't expect recognition, and there's lots of folks like that in the village. And just wanted to recognize Lydia Hodges, who's a brand new library board trustee. She was formerly a District 45 school board member as well. And you mentioned the thing about the collection of the cooking oil, and that's something that Scarce is kind of orchestrating, and that cooking oil will be taken and used as biofuel in vehicles. And
Sounds familiar.
I talked briefly with the manager about this and the director at Salt Creek Sanitary District, and they do see a definite amount of oil that they have to spend time skimming off and collecting. So it's a bad thing. It's not a good thing to do. Recycle it, and it can be used as biofuel. And lastly, just want to remind folks that the Park and Rec Advisory Commission will be meeting tomorrow at 7 p.m. at Iowa Community Center. And that's all I have.
Thank you. We've actually talked about potentially maybe trying out a couple pilot projects here in Villa Park related to the use of biofuel, through cooking oil and recycling, and who knows, maybe one of these days we can revisit that. So it's becoming more and more popular. Okay. With that, we'll move on to the new item 16, information only, bill list, oh,
didn't go
uh-oh,
down this
oh, I'm so sorry. I'm getting so punchy.
We're just tired of listening.
I guess you guys are having so much fun down there.
So we're just passing you over.
Yes, oh. I'm so used to starting to my right. I'm so sorry. Okay, trustee Bolfus.
Nothing tonight.
Wow. For all that. Okay, there better be something down there. Okay, trustee Taglia.
Yes, just quickly, I'd like to thank the Senior Concerns Commission for changing their meeting time. It makes it easier for those of us who still have to work for a living to make it to the meetings. And I know that goes for commissioners as well. So I'd like to thank our clerk, Hosanna Koronecki, who does the lion's share of the work for that commission. And I just want to thank her for doing such a good job. That's it.
Thank you, trustee Taglia. Trustee Case.
Thank you, staff, police department, fire department.
There you go.
Manager
There you go.
Keener, the board,
attorney.
and our village attorney.
That's it. Wow, thanks, Don.
Well, thank you, trustee Case. All right, okay. Now, new item number 16. Information only, bill listing dated November 11th, 2013, in the amount of $463,203.52. Any questions on the bill listing? We good? Okay. Item number 17, adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn? All, yes. Okay, trustee Bolfus. Do we have a second? Anybody?
Madam President,
Okay, trustee Taglia.
I'll second the motion.
Since I left y'all out in the reports,
Okay, we can
throw that to you. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. It is 26? Our next regular board meeting is Monday, November 25th.
Everybody's leaving.
Yep, 7:30 here at Village Hall. Thanks, Villa Park.